In this video, the third installment of my Downtown Iceberg series, I'll be going over all the new information I've uncovered about the show, highlighted in yellow. If you haven't already, be sure to check out my previous two Downtown Iceberg videos, which contain a lot of obscure and interesting information I'm sure you all will enjoy. As a quick recap, Downtown is an animated series that aired on the MTV network in 1999. Despite lasting only one season, it has garnered a cult following for its surreal imagery, relatable and diverse cast of characters, and its status as a time capsule of the grunge New York City era. If you're interested in watching it yourself, I recommend checking it out on CKS Richardson's channel. For Tier 1 is the soundtrack. The soundtrack of MTV's Downtown is a favorite among many in the show's community. However, much like the show itself, the soundtrack remains partially obscure. Many of the songs included have yet to be identified. This is evident by the occasional online comment from a fan seeking help with identifying a specific song from an episode. While the main original soundtrack, composed by Kimson Albert, has been widely shared online, identifying the other songs, particularly the licensed ones, has proven difficult. Impressively, some fans have been able to identify some licensed songs, such as Glass by Incubus, Bull in the Heather by Sonic Youth, and even Aneurysm by Nirvana. Others have even managed to uncover the songs sampled by Kimson Albert for his compositions on the show. Thanks to the Downtown community, I've created a comprehensive playlist on YouTube featuring all the known songs used in Downtown. You can find the link to the playlist in the description below. For Tier 2 is Lupo the Butcher. For those unfamiliar, Lupo is a cartoon character created by David Antonucci, the mind behind shows like The Brothers Grunt, which aired on MTV from 1994 to 1995, and his more successful creation, Ed, Edd n Eddy, which ran on Cartoon Network from 1999 to 2008. Lupo stars in an adult animated comedy short film titled Lupo the Butcher, which premiered in 1987 at Spike and Mike's Festival of Animation, a touring showcase of award-winning short films. The short features Lupo, a short-tempered butcher who explodes in a flurry of swearing whenever something goes wrong in his shop. Due to its graphic violence and gore, I'll only be showing snippets of the film. Written and directed by David Antonucci with production by Marv Newlands International Rocket Ship Limited, Lupo the Butcher achieved success and garnered a cult following. Interestingly, this character made a cameo appearance in episode 12, Cropsey Clanners. Here's the clip.
Hey, Ephraim, don't hit your sister! I mean cousin. I mean aunt. Whatever. That's Silas.
He sure is a cat.
I know. I'm the luckiest girl in the world.
For Tier 3 is Mecha's pink hair. Mecha, one of the 8 main characters in Downtown, is Chaka's best friend and a hopeless romantic. Her most striking feature is her pink hair. While watching the show, you might wonder why her hair is pink. Though it's never explained in the show, you might be surprised to learn that there's a real reason behind it. In an interview with Chris Pernosky, the show's creator, on Cable News Network, Pernosky mentioned that he was wrapping up interviews for the night. While searching for people to cast for Downtown, he spotted a group of friends, one of whom had pink hair. This feature alone intrigued him enough to approach them and ask for an interview. The people he is referring to are Leora Zuberman, Aurora Lucia Levy, and their friend Satya. What you're seeing on screen is the interview that Pernosky was referring to. If you look closely at Leora, the girl on the far left sitting on the ground, you'll see her pink dyed hair when she takes off her hat. Although Mecha's character was based on Aurora Lucia Levy, it's interesting to know that other aspects of her character, specifically her hair color, were modeled after Leora. This just goes to show the amount of attention to detail the team behind Downtown wanted to put into their show, drawing inspiration from the real-life people who inspired their characters. In Tier 4 is Goat and Serena's design. This refers to the difficulty of animating both of these characters. I learned this from chatting with Ian McNaught, an animator who worked on the show. McNaught commented, although they were awesome characters, Goat and Serena were the most difficult to animate because of the crazy amount of detail in their designs. He clarifies that he's speaking from his and his friends' experience at the time, not for all the other animators. McNaught explains that the animators were paid by the foot, meaning by the number of frames of approved animation they completed each week. So anything that slowed them down, like the intricate details of Goat's spikes, scales, and chains, or Serena's clothes, hair curls, and rings, or any complex shots with many characters, could be frustrating. He concludes by saying that despite the challenges, he appreciated the overall experience working on the show. He also adds that characters like Alex and Fruity were, in comparison, less complicated to animate. Kicking off in Tier 5 is Kid Chaka. This is the kid version of Chaka seen in episode 12, voiced by Chris Pernosky's niece. Pernosky proudly mentioned this in the DVD commentary for that episode. It must have been incredibly cool for her to voice a character on a show like Downtown. I wonder if she still thinks it's cool looking back on it, especially considering how coveted voicing a character on the show is. Warning, spoilers for the 1980s horror film Mother's Day. This entry references a scene at the end of episode 12 of Downtown titled Cropsey Clanners. In this scene, the Jersey Devil jumps on the hood of Jen's boss's car. Right as everyone freaks out, the camera freezes on the Jersey Devil, then the credits roll.
Done this by my stick,
As Chris Pernosky pointed out, this scene directly references the final scene in Mother's Day. In the film, Queenie, a deformed forest dweller who is the sister of the main villain, jumps out of the woods to attack the main characters. Similar to Downtown, the scene in Mother's Day also features a freeze frame right before the credits roll. Interestingly, Mother's Day is set in the woods of New Jersey, the same setting as depicted in the Cropsey Clanners episode. In episode 12, Jen mentions the Cropseys during the group car ride to New Jersey. She claims they're a real group of inbred people living hidden in the mountains. Mecca asks how to identify them, and Jen says they all have one physical feature in common: a monobrow. They supposedly have their own society with its own rules and morals. I'd also like to point out that this is the moment where one of my favorite jokes aimed at Jen happens. Here's a clip.
They hate everyone and everything that's not one of them.
Kinda like you, Jen.
According to Chris Pernosky, the Cropsey Clanners were based on real groups called the Jackson Whites and the Pineys of New Jersey. In reality, the Ramapo Mountains, likely the mountains Jen referenced earlier in the episode, hold stories of these two intriguing groups. The Jackson Whites, shrouded in myth, were said to be a mix of refugees, slaves, and Native Americans living in isolation. This derogatory term, appearing around the 1900s, fueled misconceptions and fear, according to a Weird NJ online news article. However, research by historians like David S. Cohen paints a different picture. These were likely families of Dutch descent, possibly intermarrying with Lenape people, who simply preferred a secluded life in the mountains. Similarly, the Pineys of the New Jersey Pinelands were depicted as rough, isolated hermits. Legends arose of them being descended from pirates or outlaws. The reality is, these were resourceful communities living off the land for generations. They fished, hunted, and developed a deep knowledge of the unique Pinelands ecosystem. Both groups faced prejudice due to their lifestyles. However, historical research offers a more accurate picture of their resilience and connection to their land. This entry is by far the most disturbing piece of information I've uncovered about Downtown. So, for Tier 6, there's the dark end credits scene. Many fans of Downtown might be familiar with the end credits scenes that play after each episode. Well, prepare to be surprised. One of them was planned to be the darkest ever. According to Chris Pernosky, storyboard artist Jody Schaefer suggested that the end credits for the 12th episode, Cropsey Clanners, depict the Cropsey Clanners and Jersey Devil eating the corpses of the Downtown crew. This was originally intended for the show, but was later changed by Frank Gresham, who advised Pernosky on the end credits that was eventually used. Tier 7 contains perhaps the most obscure piece of information related to MTV's Downtown. According to Chris Pernosky, Darth Maul, a character publicly known for his first appearance in the 1999 film Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, was technically adapted for production much earlier. This earlier appearance came as a Halloween costume worn by one of Alex's geeky friends on MTV's Downtown. As you can see, the costume consists of similarly designed red face paint, a crown of small horns, a black robe with a belt, and a red double-bladed lightsaber. Pernosky claims he was able to accurately depict Darth Maul before his public debut in The Phantom Menace because his girlfriend at the time worked at a photo agency taking pictures for a Star Wars promotional magazine. She leaked the pictures to Chris Pernosky, revealing the character's design. This is how Darth Maul ended up in MTV's Downtown. Although the episode featuring Darth Maul didn't air until after Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace had been released, it's still interesting to note that a character from a popular franchise was leaked and made its first appearance on a show like MTV's Downtown. While The Phantom Menace wasn't well received by Star Wars fans upon its release, and Chris Pernosky himself didn't enjoy the movie either, this information remains fascinating nonetheless. This concludes Downtown Iceberg Part 3. I hope you all enjoyed this video and learned something new. Thank you for watching.